If you want to succeed and triumph with this limited time that we have on Earth, then I suggest that you do one thing. And that one thing is love. And I'm not talking about some romantic shit. I'm not talking about some like hippie tree hugging shit where you just, love everything and blah, 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 blah. I'm talking about something you've probably never been taught before and you've never really been told how to do. But truthfully, this is very, very powerful stuff. And I look forward to sharing this video with you because it's something that's helped me out a lot recently, massively, if that makes sense. So when I was at school about 3 years ago, there was a kid who just saw a big gecko lizard on the ground and just picked it up and just bit its head off and like basically ate it in front of everyone. There was blood everywhere. There was blood all over his school uniform. There was girls crying. There was teachers like, what the hell is going on? And this kid was just laughing. And at the time I thought like, oh, like that's kind of strange, or I might have even laughed just to try and fit in. But truthfully, this really affected me. Like, it was very evil and strange to see someone just pick up an innocent creature off the ground and just kill it and eat it like a savage for no reason. And when I think back, this thing right here put me on a path to just resenting school, resenting people I was forced to hang around with, and just resenting a lot about my later years throughout school. And those years from like 16 to 18 years old. And it was at this time that I kind of detached from everyone else and just slowly started to resent everything. And something I've figured out recently is that when you detach from others and you resent other people through like your own self-isolation, something I've found is that the brain, I think, starts to resent you because you are essentially like exiling yourself from the tribe, right? It doesn't know the difference between the reason as to why you're exiling yourself. It kind of just sees that you're detaching from social connection, and then it starts to think that there's something wrong with you. And it was around this time that I got into a really bad habit of just resenting everything. I grew and, well, I didn't really grow as in, the typical term we use in self-development, but it was more like I grew with resentment and hate. And I just slowly learned over time to just dislike everything and not be appreciative of anything and just really just hate everything around me. And it's no wonder that around this time, my life was pretty shitty and I didn't really have anything to look forward to, and I wasn't really happy with myself or who I was or what was happening, It was around this time that I was very skinny. I just lost a bunch of weight, and I didn't really have a good perception of myself, and I just detached from everything. I had really, I resented my parents in ways because they got divorced and all this negative stuff. And what I figured out is that your external world is almost like a mirror or a representation of your internal world, right? So it's no wonder that at this time my life was kind of a bit of a mess because I just had so much hate and resentment and, dislike for the world and myself. And that that manifested, if you want to use that term, into my outer world and my experience. And this is basically due to how humans perceive the world. So we don't perceive things as, objective, we perceive them as subjective. So we basically take in experiences through our eyes, nose, ears, all our senses, and then based on our previous experiences or the way we've been wired, with personality types and genetic makeup, we will create a story based on that experience. And we can perceive something as negative, positive, neutral. We can destroy it, we can hide it, we can repress it, we can do a bunch of different things. And that's why many people can experience the exact same thing, but have a completely different experience of it. So when my experience of reality was negative, when I started to hate myself and I started to resent the world and hate others, this basically manifested in my actions. If we think about who could fail the most in life, who could bring about as much negativity and destruction in their life, it's probably someone who just doesn't want to win, doesn't see human beings as valuable. And another thing I've learned over the past, few years is that I used to think humans were bad. I used to think humans were almost evil. And not every human, of course, not myself, not my family, not my loved ones, not, certain individuals. But I did have this perception that there were certain individuals in this world, or a lot of individuals in this world, that were lazy, that were evil, that were, X, Y, Z. And the thing is, when you think like this, your brain essentially recognizes that you are a human as well. So when you start to perceive the human race as bad, when you say things like, oh, humans are all lazy, or humans are all stupid, or humans are all bad, or whatever like this, your brain goes, well, hold on a minute, buddy. Like, aren't you a human as well? And then it starts to even, and this is all subconscious, by the way, but it starts to reflect how you look at the world, and then it starts to put that on yourself. And it's the exact same with judgment, you know. When we judge someone that is in a position, so say someone over there, you know, I'm looking at some random person's room. Let's say someone came out of their room or their apartment over there and they just had a big fuzzy rainbow afro, right? And then I started laughing at them. Oh, what a dickhead. Why does he look like that? Rainbow afro looking ass. Like, imagine if I said all this stuff. That would essentially mean that if I was in his position and I had a rainbow afro, then I would be judged. Like, judgment is a mirror. So anytime you judge someone, anytime you think negatively towards someone for doing some sort of action or being some sort of way, essentially that means that if you were in their position, then you would be judged the exact same way. That's how your mind perceives it, right? And going back to the example of the person that wants to navigate the world correctly, and you know, the person that gets the least out of life, the person that fails the most, and the person that hates the most, that, you know, doesn't achieve their goals, is probably going to be the person that hates the most, hates humans, hates winning, hates success, hates money, you know, all this stuff. You know, who were the kids in school, and this was me, who were the kids in school that didn't run and never achieved any sort of, you know, athletic success, whether that was in, you know, your school sporting ceremonies, whatever you had. It was always the kids that hated running, right? So if you hate humans and you hate success and you just hate all this stuff, of course you're not going to achieve it because your actions are going to be reflective of that hate. And the basis of, you know, destructive action is hate, right? The opposite of that is, you know, is building, is connection, is thriving, is growth, and that's all built on the basis of love. And, you know, the way I kind of see life at the moment is that we're essentially all just playing chess, right? We have certain rules that we have to, you know, follow. Like, these are laws of the universe. This is shit like physics and, you know, space and consciousness and human psychology and all this stuff. We have certain rules within this game. But within this game, we have, you know, millions and millions of moves that we can make. And the way I've seen it recently is, you know, when, I don't know if you've experienced this, but when you're playing chess online, you can either play by yourself or you can have the little mofo in the corner that gives you the answers, or he tells you what's a good move, or it's like a little AI computer thing, and it'll basically help you out. And that's what I've experienced with love recently. So for the longest time, I was resenting, I was hating, I was destroying. I didn't want to win. And this is like I was playing against goddamn Magnus Carlsen, like a professional chess player with no sort of assistance. And I don't know really the rules of chess. And I'm just expecting to win, even though I don't really want to win because for some reason I hate winning, right? And, you know, if we invert this and we think about the reality we can build with love and compassion and, you know, just being our best selves, it's like playing chess. You know, you're not actually, it's kind of funny. It's like you're playing chess against no one. There's no competition. There's no need to win. There's nothing like this. But when you have love, you have that little AI guy in the corner that's saying, hey buddy, look, you can still make mistakes. You can still, you know, blunder. You can still lose your pieces. But ultimately, I'm going to give you a move here and this is going to feel right. And this is why it's going to work and X, Y, Z. And this is love. And I hope you're following. I understand this is a bit of an abstract concept, especially explained in this way. But essentially, the worst move you can make in chess is resigning, is quitting, because like, well, it's not the worst move, but it is the end to the game, right? You know, and the worst thing you can do realistically is resign when there's still moves left. And unfortunately, you know, the way we've been raised and the way we've been told, you know, throughout with movies and TV shows and everything like this is that there's good people and there's bad people. And typically, you know, it's crazy to me to think this. And, you know, I'm not going to go on a whole rampage and change the entirety of media and all this stuff because I understand that these are tropes and they're attractive to viewers and they retain, you know, watch time and all this stuff. This is why it exists. But it's crazy to me to believe that, you know, we give children TV shows that say, hey, this is an evil person and we must destroy the evil person. And evil people are born and they're not made and they can't be fixed. And, you know, the good guys must kill the evil person and destroy them. And it's like fighting hate with hate. And back to the chess analogy, when you, like, the reason why I think a lot of people struggle to achieve their goals and become the person they want to be is because they only perceive a few moves on the chessboard and their mind is essentially clouded with hate. And when your mind is clouded with hate and you only perceive a few moves on the chessboard and all those moves look like failure to you, they look like losing anyway, of course you're going to resign. Of course you're never going to try. Of course you're never going to go to the gym or start a business or do anything like that. If you perceive all the moves you can take to be failure, to be hateful, to be resenting of the world, and to be negative, then that's the only move you can take. You may as well resign, you may as well never start. And I think what we need to do is we need to detach ourselves from the moves entirely. And this is done through love. So if we kind of think about love, unlike what we've been told with media and movies and all this stuff, I don't think love is the opposite to destruction and evil and, whatever you've been taught, where there's like the big alien monster and it's killing people. And then you've got like the loving superhero that for some reason uses the exact same, method of killing and destruction just on the evil guy. And we're told that that's, the way to go about life. I think true love and true, this is like, I won't lie to you, it's a bit of a hard concept for me to portray because if you're not familiar with this feeling, it can seem like I'm talking about romantic love or something like that. I'm just using the word love as a depiction of this pure, unfiltered letting go, right? That you have in your heart, and this pure detachment from outcome and from hate and from resentment. And back to what I was saying, I don't think the opposite of destruction is love. I think the opposite of love is attachment, is holding on to things, and it's wanting things to be a certain way, and it's resentment, and it's just not letting go. I think pure love and I think pure freedom in this world can be fully attained within the self, and it can be attained through believing that it's okay to let things go. And this is something I've learned recently, is that I used to be so resentful. I used to hate myself. I used to hate other people. I used to hate humans in general. And this didn't get me anywhere. And it's only recently that I've realized that when you detach and you learn to forgive, this is when your heart can be fully opened. And then this is when there's no more moves on the chessboard. You can basically play any move and you're going to win. Because when you play the moves with love, when you take actions in life based on love, you can't really lose. You can make poor decisions, yes, but ultimately, like, what's the outcome of that poor decision? You're still going to be in a pure state of abundance and love. You're still going to be detached from the outcome. You're still not going to be filled with resentment and hate and evil. And I think this is super important to understand, is that unlike movies and TV shows and all this stuff, I don't think evil is born. I don't think evil is like something that's just in a person. I think evil as we know it in the world is created through some form of like, obviously, you can perceive individuals that have done evil acts and perceive them as evil, but I think that's just the way we've been wired based on, media and based on, we have to understand that a lot of marketing is based on tribalism and us versus them concepts. So if you're not familiar with this, this is the basis of pretty much a lot of advertising, a lot of marketing, a lot of TV shows. There's always the hero and there's always the inverse of that hero. And it's always about us, the hero, and them, the evil person, right? So you can see this in marketing as well. There's Apple, the good people, in this instance. And then there's what are they called? Windows. And there's always like, humans love to see everything through dualism in the world and polarity. Humans have a very hard time perceiving the world as this is a thing and, this thing can be good, but there's also the opposite of this thing and this thing can be good as well. Like a lot of the times, like people will be vegan and then just because they believe that they're vegan, this means that anyone who's carnivore is an evil human being and should be put to death. And vice versa, there's carnivores out there that want to, eat meat and blah, 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 blah. And they think that if you're vegan, if you care for the lives of an animal, blah, 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 then you're an evil person. You should be put to death as well. There's just so much polarity, and I believe polarity is a word, and this is the way we've been raised and taught, and it's also in our biological makeup. Of course, it's very easy to get passionate about a brand when there's an opposite, when there's an enemy, when there's something to fight against. And a lot of YouTubers and pretty much everything these days, it's very easy to do. I could easily go to, I almost do it with my content. I say, I don't do this, consciously, but, I'll talk about the news, I'll talk about stuff. So that's our evil here, right? It's us versus them. You'll see it everywhere once you notice it. And going back to what I was saying, sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but I don't think evil is born, and I think it can be reverted. You know, anything that's created, anything that's, you know, turned that way can be reverted, can be reversed, can be treated with love, and can be forgiven and fixed. And basically, my point with this video is right now, if you're feeling some sort of resentment towards yourself or other people, and, you know, your actions you've taken in the past, or just who you were or who you are. Because even when I went to the gym, even when I put on the muscle, even when I lost the weight, I still resented my past self. I still, you know, I'll make fun of my past self in these videos. Well, I truly don't believe that person is bad. I used to really hate my past self. And even when I lost the weight physically, but I hadn't lost the weight in here. I hadn't lost the weight mentally, and more importantly, in my heart. So I still felt like that fat person, and I still felt like that fat person because I was attached to them, because I resented them, I resented their actions, I resented what made them that way, and because I resented them, I was still connected, right? True love is when we detach and we forgive and we say, that's okay, that's free to let go, that's in the past, and we're just us now. And us isn't really anything, but us is just, you know, hopefully our most pure, loving, compassionate selves. When I was younger, I used to think my mom was telepathic, and I always used to think like nothing bad because I thought that she could hear my thoughts. And I don't know how this started. It probably started because my mom just made like an offhand comment one day, like, you know, like as moms do, like, oh, I've got an eye in the back of my head, or I know what you're doing, or I know what you're thinking, like stuff like this. And I don't know if I was like low-key autistic as a kid or something like this, but I used to just take everything literally, and I'd be like, oh my God. And I used to never say anything bad in my head. I used to always like think just neutral thoughts. I would stop thinking entirely because I was just worried I was gonna think something bad. And I remember there were days where I'd like learned a swear word, or I would be at school and some kid was like talking about kissing a girl. And that's another story, but I used to think girls were like evil, and like, yeah, I was a weird kid, but, and, you know, I just used to think that my mom could read my thoughts, and one day I like swore or something in my head. I was like, oh my God. And I just used to hold on to so much stuff. That's my point here. I used to just think that, you know, I wasn't safe, and I always felt guilty as a kid. I always felt bad as a kid. And it's just because I held on to things. It's just because I took everything literally. And, you know, this might just seem like a story, but there's still people that do this today. There's still people that will go to the shopping center and someone cuts in front of them at the line, and then they just think, oh my God, what a bitch, like what an idiot, like how dare you? And even if they just say it in their head, like, oh my God, what a rude person. There's people that think like that for hours. And how do I know this? Because it used to be me. Stuff used to happen at school where people would just make a little comment, or something would happen that kind of upset me, and I would just replay it over and over and over and over and over and over and over in my head, just over and over. And this is the basis of hate, I think. And, you know, going back to my original point, if right now you feel like you're holding on to something, if you feel like you're resenting your past self, if you feel like you're resenting someone else in your life, or you're resenting, this is a big one, an action that you took, you know, it's very easy to look at where we are now and be dissatisfied and then go, well, it's because I took those actions. But ultimately, we can't change those actions. And the worst thing we can do is live in resentment of those actions, because then that's just going to breed hate within us. And then we're going to take further actions based on that hate. It's like what I said about the chessboard. When you perceive your past actions as negative and hateful and poor, your paradigm and your mindset is going to be built off hate, and then that's only going to be the moves you can perceive on the future chessboard, if this makes sense. But when we turn into love, when we turn into forgiveness, when we turn into compassion, we lose the detachment. We detach from the chess moves entirely, and we just think, well, how can I win this game by playing any move I really want? And when we play any move we want, so long as we have love and true love for ourselves and other people and the actions we take, we can't really fail. Sure, we can make poor moves. Sure, we can, you know, make mistakes and blunders sometimes. But if we just live in true love, we will succeed. And if you want more like tangible information on how to do this, it's just understanding fully how you feel about negative things in your life and negative situations. And not just understanding them logically and forgiving logically, but you actually need to forgive with your body, and you need to let this emotion pass. And it's one of these things that, you know, you can do it logically. Like, I won't talk about it in this video, but there's been issues with my family in the past where I've really resented them for certain things, and I've resented, them for positions I've been in. And, logically, I've learned that it's okay to forgive and love and all this stuff. And it was okay up here. But when that tension's still inside of you, when that negativity and hate and resentment's still inside of you, it will affect your mental state anyway, and it still lives in your subconscious, and it will still dictate your future actions. And we can't have this, because ultimately we want to live a life of joy. We want to live a life of giving, because when we give, we receive. The universe is based on reciprocity. Everything returns back to neutral. When there's polarity one side, it can, I don't know if polarity is a word, pardon me guys, but if there's something on this side, it'll go back to this side, and the neutral is always the middle, right? And this is how reciprocity works. When you give, you always receive. If you take, if you resent, if you hold on to things, you're not going to get anything, because you're just hoarding. Like, imagine that person in the tribe that hoards all the meat and hoards all the resources and says, no, you can't have it, this is all mine. Like, how is the rest of the tribe going to treat them? How is, if they're out on a hunt and there's a tiger, someone's going to push that mofo and say, you die because you've been hoarding everything. Like, this is the exact same. And when we resent and we hold on to things and we don't love, this is essentially hoarding of the universe and emotions. And when we hoard, we can't perceive our full reality with crystal clear vision on the actions we can take, and we're not open to receiving. And again, I know this is a little bit intangible, a little bit spiritual in parts, but truly, it's not about the easy forgiveness. It's not about the things you can think, well, I'm going to forgive that lady that cut in front of me at the supermarket. Because if you can think of it immediately, it's probably not something that is super deep in your subconscious. Typically, the things we really need to forgive are the things that we could never see ourselves forgiving. We could never see ourselves undoing, It's so common to just be in a pure state of hate with the news and the media and, everyone around you watching that stuff and telling you that it's okay to be like that. But in reality, it's this stuff that we need to let go on. It's, it's even hard for me to say, but it's when we have individuals in the world like Hitler and stuff like this. And this is still like, I'm not going to say, actually, yeah, you know what? Like, I truly think I'm going to stand by this. Don't clip it up. Don't get me out of context one day. I think true love is forgiving individuals that have done insane acts like that. And I have so much tension inside of me right now, because it's just such an insane concept based on everything we've been told. We've been told that this man was evil. We've been told that men who were similar to him were evil. But I think in reality, those people were not born like that. They were created, and what is created can be undone. And, ultimately, how do we undo that? With forgiveness, with detachment, with love. So I'm going to end this video here. I understand it was a little bit weird, and I don't want anyone to think I'm like a Hitler fan or anything like that. But truly, the stuff we can think of off the top of our heads to forgive easily, that's not the stuff we need to worry about. It's the internal feelings of resentment to maybe, your parents, or maybe your past self, like in my instance, or maybe, just someone that's wronged you in the past and you never thought you could truly forgive them or overcome that or let that go. That's the real stuff we need to let go of. That's the real stuff we need to give love to and ultimately detach from. And once we let go of that stuff, then we will truly be free. And once we're free, we can't really fail. We can't make any poor moves on the chessboard. We can't, gather any negative emotions or have any resentment to the world. When we learn to forgive and let go, then we're essentially free to receive, and we can start taking some better actions because our mental state is fixed, and we'll just be better overall. We'll be more fulfilled and we'll be more happy. So thank you so much for your attention today. If you're struggling with mindset, purpose, self-sabotage, lack of clarity in your business, content creation, or knowledge work, then check out the first link in the description. I sincerely appreciate you watching. Make sure you check out these videos here, subscribe, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Much love. Catch you later. Bye-bye.